Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Grok Build Something Beta. In this episode, we're going to continue working on our new snake game, which is built from better primitives. But first thing I wanted to point out is we are now in 0.2.22, and at some point between this and the last version, they added a new home page. So this is the home page that has this different. It says almost all the same information, but it's just more of a widescreen layout. And then they added the changelog as well from the previous version. So that's kind of nice to see what's new every time you hop in here. But with that, we're going to continue working on this game. And if you don't remember, this was the old snake game we had that was functional, but ultimately really poorly made. You see text going off on the side. You see some stretching here of the gameplay in the middle of it, and just all in all, not very good hygiene. And this was a single prompt one, so we're now rebuilding this in a better format. You'll notice I've made some changes already. Just tried to clean up a couple things, made the visuals much clearer that this space we don't want anything. I shrink this top bar down to the width we wanted, the sidebars down to the width we wanted, and one thing you'll see already is we still haven't fixed the centering of the middle. So there's a some sort of padding that's going on from top to bottom, and this is, I think, something I've noticed Grok build, at least in its earlier versions. Maybe it's better now. It does struggle at spatial understanding when it's doing front-end work. It's very happy to just kind of leave these text boxes misaligned. And so we're going to try to prompt our way out of that today. So, without further ado, snake game. We're going to reorientate the agent to be looking at the right thing because our repo now is getting a little messy. There's a lot of things going on in it that it can find. This is something I've noticed. The thinking traces are a little more clear. You get a bit more view into them as we see them popping up. I don't think it was, maybe it was this wide, I don't know, but for some reason I'm noticing that I'm able to see these thinking traces a little bit more. I know that was something that XAI wanted to push, and it's definitely showing up. Another small thing from the original, last time I talked about this, expand used to be E, now it's the left and right arrow keys to expand. But all that functionality is still the same. Enter still opens it up in here, and blah, blah, blah. So we're looking at the snake game now, which is good. And I want to look at the top bar spacing. Correct. Wrong, but the middle aligned and be spaced off center. So I'm trying to, right now I'm trying to get it to look at that spacing problem and admit to me that yes, it can flex in and out based on the widths of the two right. My guess is, and we'll kind of see what it says, my guess is that there's some sort of flex container to it that is saying, let's put it in the middle of the text in general. So if we fill in text from the right side, we'll put it in the middle of the left text and the right text, which is not what we want. We want it spaced in the middle of the actual top bar. So middle line is spaced rather than truly centered. Yep. XML structure, 3 direct children. Same pattern on all of them. First, last, start the gap between, share leftover space. So we can see it's doing the gap is based on the widths and then the center of the left and the right items, which means that that center can shift around. might be useful in some cases. And keep it. We replace the top one with 7. Because I might want that still. I don't just want to rip it out. And I don't have an exact use case at this moment for why I wouldn't want it, but we do definitely want this to be our snake game here, to have a title that's centered, or the ability to center something in the actual window. Something that's been interesting, I don't know when this showed up in the thinking traces, they're definitely more complete, but there's a lot of it says yes to itself all the time. You'll see that it's longer. Thinking traces 32 seconds is very different. This is a new version of the Grok build model, a new training checkpoint, so I don't know when this started showing up, but there's just a lot of these yes that pop up, I've noticed. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I don't know much about thinking traces to know whether it's helpful. But as we can see already, that this looks a little funky to me, but I think it's centered. Just grab the top one. That does not center. Know what it's expand. Anchor center. Maybe it is in the center. Maybe it's just kind of thrown off. Doesn't look like it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'd like to know whether I actually can. But maybe it is right. I don't know. Might be right. My eyes just might be. Yeah, it is in the center. Okay. So we have that done now. Snake square height width. I don't necessarily remember, and we don't necessarily need to have it square. But right now I'm just trying to get a feel for, okay, I've been able to text align. Now let's see if we can get the game grid itself going. And I want to know if the game grid is actually a square. Actual snake game. Is wider than taller. Yeah, it's looking at the. So it is not a square. Wide 30 tall. Is 80. Rectangular. What I just counted. Don't need. Or when we get that, actually, is the primary square cell. Square number of cells. 1, 2. So this is something. This is a good. Kudos to Grok here. This is a pretty good synopsis on telling me the importance of the difference. So right now it's asking, do you want to prioritize having square cells Yes, because if you remember that was part of the issue we ran into here, is these squares they are wider than they are taller, and that made it all distorted. So we want that gone. And so it's asking, do we want square cells or square number of cells? And we want square cells. Let's pick a 40 by, let's do the 32 by 4 square cells. And we'll see if it puts it in. I'm hoping it does. The assistant, I think, is getting, I would say it's getting slower, but as the updates keep moving on, but it is getting more complete in its responses and more complete in what it's changing, which I think is just a necessary agentic trade-off, because if it's, it's funny they inverted that. Because if it's thinking for a long time, it's thinking through everything it needs to change, and which that's all a good thing, and we like that. But it is going to take its time to think a little bit more. The last version was a little bit more direct, hit the changes. Already noticing a few issues, and it looks like it didn't catch it. Something I want to test. Linux has been a little weird recently about screenshots, or at least mine has been. Yep, still is being. That's okay. Scales. So window names one. I'm not really sure why it ended up doing that. That is right from a game standpoint. It is right from a game standpoint, but it is not quite right from obviously filling the. We don't want this, and this is where would the other AI models get this right? I don't know. I haven't tried this specific prompting on them. Grok build, you definitely have to know exactly what you're talking about to get what you want. Otherwise, you kind of get stuff like this, especially in the front end. But let's see if we can point out the problem and it gets it right on this one. Maybe we'll do a little inspect here as we're waiting, kind of see what is actually going on. And we'll move away for now. This is in the game window. Frame middle, I bet. Or the middle. Game surface. And it doesn't have anything going on inside it. Huh. Oh, well, it did fix it, so that's good. It fixed it by making our board massive. This is probably too big of a snake game to have, but we can see that it did a good job actually filling the space of our board, which is good. Oh, and here's something good too. It can handle zooming, so it didn't decouple it to the size of our window, which is important. That's good. But let's kind of take a look at what the last thing Grok said it did was component modifies the rendering script. Should follow. Yeah, I think that's an okay spot to get to. So we have a center aligned text and we have a game grid now that we can play off of and scale. I might off camera spend a little time thinking about how to keep these coupled properly instead of, I have a sneaky suspicion they're hard coded. I'm guessing they're not coupled with each other. So that'll kind of be something I want to get done before we start actually making the game. Just in case I say, hey, I don't actually like the size of the window, I'd rather make it size X. I don't want to have to rewrite all this game logic. I just want it to be reasonable. If I don't change the aspect ratio, the game should be still good to go. Looks like they're partially coupled, which is good, but yes, you maybe by now you can already tell that we're going far slower than what a typical vibe code would look like, and you may question why we're doing that, and the answer is simply we want the code to be built off of a good base and we want it to be maintainable. What I don't want is to get a quick working product fast that ultimately has a lot of bugs, which is what we got our first time around. And the more I tried to poke at it, the worse and worse it got. So we're getting down to brass tacks. We're getting down to basics, primitives we need. And let's see. Change only the surface size, board scale board. But game windows, it's a design primitive. I'll have to look at that more. See what's I'm not super familiar with what exactly why. But it does look like we're matching aspect ratio and grid size. So yes, we're going slower, but the idea is the slower we go, and it's also probably going slower because I'm doing more explaining than I'm, doing just prompting away. But where we are now is a much better spot for long-term maintainability, and we were able to get alignment and figure out what was going on between this being pushed less away from the center, and we're going to keep building this game up to hopefully get to a same and better spot than our old one. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will catch you in the next episode where either, I'm not sure what we'll do yet, we'll maybe make the border stuff a little better, or we'll actually get the game running, one of the two. So thanks everyone for watching, and talk in the next episode.